Hey, what's up, guys? It's DarkArmedDuelist and Today doing an Atlantean Mermail deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck just got some insane support that takes this deck to a whole new level. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 2 copies of Poseidra, the Storming Atlantean. This card is absolutely insane. It is a crazy power effect that while you control a monster, except for this card, your opponent cannot target it for attacks. Also, you can send one other water monster from your hand or your side of the field to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, which is an amazing ability to instantly get this card out on your side of the field. And if this card is normally special summon, you can actually send an Atlantean or a Mermail monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then you get to target a card your opponent controls and return it back to the hand, being a bounce and a foolish burial to make your other water monsters go off, which is absolutely insane. This card is so helpful for the deck, and it's such a powerful card to be able to play in this build. We then play 3 copies of Mermail Abysstius. Abysstius is really good as a 3-of in the build, because this card is build you can discard one other water monster to the grave to special summon this card in the hand, and if it's summoned this way, you actually get to add a level 4 lower Mermail monster from your deck to your hand. We then play a single copy of Megalo. Megalo is really good as a 1-of in the build, just to help you OTK your opponent, because you can actually discard 2 other water monsters to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, and when you do, you actually get to add an Abyss spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to instantly add the exact card that you need, making this card an awesome combo piece, but also a really good OTK piece, because you can actually tribute one of their face-up attacks to some water monster, and this card can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn, which is a pretty cool effect. We then play 3 copies of Neptibus. Neptibus is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck. This card is absolutely insane, a card you always want to see in your opening hand, because it's the best normal summon in the entire deck. This card has the ability that you get to send an Atlantean monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card, to add an Atlantean card from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability to send your copy of Dragoons to the graveyard, so you can basically just get your copy of Dragoons to go off while also getting a search. Also, if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect, you actually get to target an Atlantean monster in your graveyard and special summon it, except another copy of this card, being a monster reborn for this build. We then played 3 copies of Atlantean Dragoons. Dragoons is just such a powerful card in this deck, because this card has such a powerful ability that if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect, you actually get to add a Sea Serpent type monster from your deck to your hand, which is such a powerful ability to instantly grab the exact card you need off this card's effect. We then play 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Spike. This card is such a good 3-of in the build, especially to be able to summon out for your copy of your super ancient Deep Sea King, Coliantus, and this card is just really good in the deck, because when it's normal or special summon, you actually get to discard a water monster to the graveyard, and then add a level 3 water monster from your deck to your hand, which is an awesome ability to instantly grab the exact card you need from your deck to your hand off this card's effect. We then play 3 copies of the Atlantean Spirit. Atlantean Spirit is definitely a 3-of as well in the deck, because this card has a really cool ability. This card is always treated as a Mermail card as well. You can actually tribute this card from your hand and an Atlantean or a Mermail monster from your hand or field, and then take a level 7 Fish, Sea Serpent, or Aqua monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Also, you can't special summon from the extract for the rest turn except water monsters, which is totally fine because that's usually all we're summoning anyways, but it's amazing in this deck to be able to just use this card to instantly bring out the exact card that you need to your side of the field, or search one of your cards to your hand. Also, during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard and discard 1 card to the graveyard to draw a card, which is a pretty cool ability to be able to use. We then played 3 copies of Shadow Squad. Shadow Squad is really good as a 3-of in the build as well, because this card has the ability it's always treated as an Atlantean card because it's a Mermail monster, and it has the ability you can discard 1 card to the graveyard, and then water monsters you currently control become level 7 until the end of the turn, making it super easy to step into rank 7 plays in this deck. And if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect, you can special summon a level 4 lower Atlantean or Mermail monster from the deck, except another copy of Shadow Squad, which is a great ability to instantly bring out your copy of Neptibus to your side of the field, so you can go full combo. We then play a single copy of Heavy Infantry. Heavy Infantry is really good as a 1-of build because this card gives you an additional normal summon of a Sea Serpent monster that's level 4 or lower, and also, when this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect, you can turn a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it, which is a great effect to use this card as a pop. We then play a single copy of Moral Inglacia. Moral Inglacia is really cool, just to help you rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. And if this card actually touches down, it actually just instantly wins you the game, which is so cool, because once you get rid of 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, this deck already establishes so many negates on the field that your opponent's probably not going to be able to play through it. So this card is absolutely insane in this build as a 1-of, just to instantly put on your side of the field and make it so your opponent has to start with 4 cards instead of 6 cards when they get their turn if we're going first. We then made a single copy of Super Ancient Deep-Sea King Coliantus. So this card is really good as a 1-of in the build, as this card is basically Soul Charge. It lets you once return, discard a card, and then special summon as many level 4 or lower fish monsters as possible from the deck, which is an insane ability. Instantly bring out multiple fish monsters to your side of the field, like your copy of Abyss Spike, which is so cool to instantly get it on your side of the field, and just helps out a lot in the deck to be swarm the board. We made a single copy of Deep Sea Minstrel. This card is great to give you knowledge of your opponent's hand, because you can discard this card and a water monster to look at your opponent's hand and then banish a card from their hand face up until the end phase of turn, helping you deal with hand traps before your opponent even activates them, which is amazing. But you only need a single copy in the build because it is searchable in this deck. We then made a single copy of Ice Jade Ranagrini. This card is also easy to get to in this build, which is why we just play a single copy in the deck, because this card is absolutely insane to help you go for your level 10 synchro plays. You can actually discard one of their water monster to special summon this card from your hand, then special summon an Ice Jade token that's an aqua water level 3, 0 attack and 0 defense to your side of the field, which is a great effect to instantly get another monster on your side of the field so you can go for your level 10 synchro play, as this card is a tuner. We then play 3 copies of Molcharmy Perilia. Perilia is insane in this build because you can use this card as an extender because it is a water monster, and also it's an insane hand trap in this format, as each time your opponent normally special summons monster from their hand, immediately draw a card, which is a really cool ability just to help you dig into the deck for the exact card that you need. The only downside of this card is its end phase effect, because once during the end phase, if the number of cards in your hand is more than the number of cards your opponent controls plus 6, you must randomly shuffle cards from your hand into the deck, so the number of cards in your hand equal the number of opponent controls plus 6, which is a really interesting effect, which you usually get to keep everything that you draw off this card's effect. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's definitely a 3 on the build, basically just to stop your opponent in their tracks from touching the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Call by the Grave is definitely a 1 in the build to basically just stop your opponent from hand trapping you where you're going in for all of your plays. We play a single copy of 1 for 1. 1 for 1 is amazing in this build as a 1-out to basically just instantly get your copy of your Atlantean Prince to your side of the field. We play a single copy of Abyss Sting. Abyss Sting is really good in the build as a 1-up, as this card is a really powerful effect that is basically a monster reborn for the build. I think it's special summon an Atlantean or a Mermail monster from the hand or the graveyard if you equip it with this card. And if the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle by card effect, you can send this card to your grave instead, and you can also banish this card from your graveyard and then target up to 3 of your fish, sea serpent, and or aqua monsters that are banished during the graveyard and shuffle them into the deck, which is a really cool effect to be able to use. But this card is amazing because it's super easy to get to, and there's a bunch of cards in the deck that can easily get to this card. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Abyss Sphere. Abyss Sphere is really good as a combo piece in the deck, as it's so easy to get to in this build. This card has the ability that you get to special summon a Mermail monster from your deck, but its effects are negated. And you cannot activate any spell cards, and when this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. And also destroy this card during your opponent's next end phase after activation, but it's really cool just to be able to use basically as an extender land or get an additional monster out on your side of the field. Plus, I feel like in this deck, we have so many different ways to search our Abyss spells and traps that I feel like 2 copies is really what you need. And this card is just really good over the new card, as this card gives you an additional monster where the other card gives you the potential to draw a card. So I feel like this card is just infinitely better to instantly bring out an additional monster to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good as a 3-of-them build, basically just to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. We then also play 3 copies of Dominus Impulse. Dominus Impulse is insane in the build to be able to use because this card just stops your opponent's special summons, and it does lock you out of light, earth, and wind monsters for the rest of the duel, but that's totally fine because all we're playing is water. But for a more budget option instead of this card and Perillia, you can change them out for Effect Veiler and Droll for other options for you guys to be able to play in this build. But I feel like this is the strongest version to actually play this card and your copies of Perillia, just to give you the maximum amount of potential to be able to win games. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of the Atlantean Spirit, Abystrite. This card is really good as a 1-of in the build, and it was recently released in Supreme Darkness. This card makes it so water monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense for each material attached to this card, meaning you're usually going to summon this card with 2 level 7s to make all your monsters gain 600 attack points. Also, this card has a really cool ability that if this card is a Z summon, you can actually target a level 7 or lower fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster in the graveyard and special summon him, which is an insane effect to be able to use to instantly bring back a card to your side of the field. You can also detach your material from this card and then set an Abyss trap from your deck, which will get to your copy of Sphere, which is awesome. We then play a single copy of Megala or Gaios. Gaios is really good as a 1-of in the build, as this card has the ability that while this face-up card has Exia material, level 5 or higher monsters cannot attack. And once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach an Exia material on this card to negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls that have less attack than this card until the end of the turn, which is such a powerful effect. But I feel like 1 copy is really all you need in the build. We then play a single copy of Poseidra Abyss. This card is such a powerful card in the build to be able to make, as this card has the ability once per turn, you can also Exia summon this card by using an Atlantean or a Mermail Exia monster that you control and transfer all materials to this card. And once per turn, you can actually detach 2 materials on this card and then send a water monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard to be able to return 3 cards, up to 3 cards your opponent controls, back to the hand, which is insane to be able to use this card's effect just to bounce multiple cards back to the hand. And if this Exia summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can discard a card to the grave and then special summon 3 level 3 or lower fish, sea serpent, or aqua monsters from your hand or graveyard, basically being a soul charge as well, which is so insane. We then play a single copy of number 4. Number 4 is great for time, just to do a little bit of burn damage to the opponent, plus turns everything on the field into water, which is insane to be able to do. And you can also pop monsters on the field, doing half burn damage of the attack points, helping you in time. We play a single copy of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is really good in the deck as a 1-of to be able to summon out to your side of the field with all water monsters that gain 500 attack points, and also you can lock down the graveyard for your opponent, which is insane to be able to do. We then play 2 copies of Bahamut Sharks. We can summon out our copies of Toad. Toad is really good as a 2-0 in the build, as you guys can probably see from the map, but this card is really good in the build to be able to establish as a walking negate. It's just insane in this deck, and it also help you recover your water monster if it touches the graveyard, which is really cool to be able to do. But in the deck, you basically just establish 2 Toads on your side of the field, plus whatever else you want to summon out to the field, which is insane for this deck to be able to do. I made a single copy of the Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign. This card is really good as a 1-of, as for each banished card, this card gains 100 attack and defense, and your opponent's monster lose 100 attack and defense. And if this card will be destroyed by a card effect, you can actually banish a card in the grave instead. And if a card is banished, you can actually banish a card from each your opponent's field and grave, which is really cool to be able to do. I'm going to single copy of Trish. Trish is just really easy to summon in the build because it helps you banish a card from your opponent's hand, field, and graveyard, which is insane for this card to be able to do, especially with cards like Moral and Glacia already in the deck. My single copy of Zelantis. Zelantis is just a good option in the deck. It's a really cool card overall in the build to basically just waterlock yourself with your copy of Coral Anemone, and then once you do, you basically just summon out this card, banish everything on the field. Unless your opponent's playing water, they don't come back to the field, which is insane because we are the ones summoning the cards. With my single copy of the Mermail King, Mermail King is insane in the deck as a 1-up, as your opponent cannot target water monsters this card points to with card effects, and you can also use the following effects this card once per turn, that if a water monster is sent to the graveyard to activate a card effect, you can actually add an Abyss equipped spell from your deck to your, or graveyard to your hand, which is a really cool ability to instantly grab it to your hand to grab your copy of Abyss Stain, so you can use it again all over again, which is really, really good. Within my single copy of the other Mermail Link, this card is just a good 1-of in the build, and it's a great option in the deck, but I feel like 1 copy is really all you need. This card is ability during the opponent's turn. Quick effect, you can actually send a card from your hand to the graveyard to add a Mermail monster from your deck to your hand. I really wish that was on both players' turns. You can basically just use it as a quick effect, but it's insane that you have to wait till your opponent's turn to be able to use its effect, and it's a little bit of a downside that you do have to do that. So I feel like 1 copy is really all you need, but it's a great card to be able to use as a stepping stone. It also has the ability, if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can, or by opponent's attack or card effect, you can actually send a water monster from your deck to the graveyard, then target a water monster in the grave and special summon a defense position, meaning this card is pretty good in the build. I'm going to single copy of Coral Anemone. Coral Anemone is great as a 1-of to basically just use this card to revive one of your monsters from the grave. It was just an insane 1-of in the build. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoy. This deck is absolutely insane to be able to play. If you guys have not tried Atlantia and Mermail recently, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it just got some insane support back to back in 2 separate sets, and it's just really, really good now to be able to play. And it's so good now that we have an awesome main deck Poseidra that's a bounce, a Foolish Burial, and just absolutely crazy for this deck. This card is so good. So, that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, so you can come for our notifications. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.